There we go. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for 60-minute Vinyasa flow this morning. I'm Kate. I'm sorry if I didn't introduce myself, but I think most of you know who I am. Oh, hello. I'm going to start by reading the Campus Rec waiver that we're reading before all of our classes. So in order to make these classes as freely accessible as possible to our participants, we'll be using a verbal warning and assumption of risk at the beginning of the class. Participation in this online class is voluntary. Physical activity programs may result in injury, and by participating, you assume the risk of injury that may result from your participation. We strongly recommend that you participate from a space that is suitable for this activity. For example, make sure that you've moved nearby furniture and other potential hazards. If you're participating in a yoga class or a class that involves laying on the ground, we recommend using a mat, or if you don't have one, a carpeted area. Participants are encouraged to stop if they experience pain or injury and should seek appropriate medical advice or care as needed. William & Mary Health and Wellness strongly recommends that each participant have an annual physical examination and follow the advice of your healthcare provider before participating. And that is it for the waiver portion of class. So this is going to be a Vinyasa flow style class. We're going to be linking our breath to our movement, maybe working with a little bit of a sweat today, but we're going to work on some balance and everything else. So when you're ready, we're going to start seated in whatever position is most comfortable for you. So you can sit cross-legged. You could sit with your legs extended out in front of you on your mat. There you go. Whatever works best for your body this morning. And maybe your eyes close or you find a soft gaze on something in front of you in your room or whatever space you're doing your yoga in today. And we're going to begin class the way we always begin class, by bringing that awareness to our breath. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. We're not changing our breath. We're definitely not judging how it feels. We're just noticing. As with all of the classes I teach, I hope that this is a space where you're choosing to put yourself first, which also means that my words are suggestions. They're not mandates. I'd like you to go where your body and your breath would like to go with class today. As you become more acquainted with your breath, sometimes it feels better if you put one hand over the heart and the other one over the belly button, and you actually feel how the breath moves through the body. Maybe the chest rises first and then the hand over the belly button fills. Maybe it's the opposite. We begin with our focus on our breath, because in Vinyasa flow, this is how we're going to find movement. But also because we need to give our brains a little bit of a break. So you're not going to stop thinking, and you shouldn't try to. That is not what the brain is designed to do. Instead, you're going to focus on your inhales and your exhales. And it's going to give the brain something else to think about than all of the thoughts that just naturally pop up. It's a great way to keep us grounded in this moment. And that's your challenge for the next 60 minutes, is just to stay as present as you can in this moment with what's happening on your own mat right here and right now. Maybe you begin to lengthen those inhales and those exhales. Maybe you begin to move into what we call our Ujjayi breath, which is very simple. On your exhale, you're just going to create a slight restriction at the back of your throat, like you're trying to fog up a mirror in front of you. And it should make it sound like your exhale is a wave of breath that crashes through the body. Now, especially since we're not all sharing the same physical space, I promise your wave breath is not going to bother your neighbor. So I want you to make it as loud or as quiet as you would like it to be. Still focusing on that Ujjayi breath. On your next inhale, I want you to let the spine grow tall, crown of the head reaches toward the ceiling. Your exhale, the spine stays where it is, but the shoulders come down and out from the ears. If you would like to set an intention for today's class, I'd invite you to do that now. An intention could be a mantra. It could be the reason you stepped onto your mat this morning. But it's anything or anywhere you're going to draw your energy from today. It can also be what you're looking to find out of our practice. So whatever that is for you, I want you to take 3 deep inhales into it and 3 Ujjayi exhales out of it. And if you're having trouble thinking of an intention this morning, no worries. You are more than welcome to join me in mine, which today is I am unafraid to put my needs first. If we're sitting with our legs extended out in front of us, very gently just moving so that we come to an easy seated pose in our crisscross legs. Maybe the eyes stay closed as we begin with some gentle movement. Maybe you just bring the wrists to some circles. Maybe you inhale, float the right ear over that right shoulder. Inhale the nose back towards center, reverse the wrist circles if you're making them. Exhale, float the left ear over the left shoulder. Inhale back towards center. On your next inhale, let's let those arms grow tall overhead. Exhale, that right hand is going to come towards the outside of that left quad, and you're very gently going to twist towards the left. Try and keep the spine as tall as possible. The cervical spine is just an extension of that back, so we try to keep the neck as in line with the back as we can. Inhale back towards center for me. Exhale, that left palm's going to come to the outside of that right quad this time, and you'll twist towards the right. Inhale towards center. Exhale, both hands down by the side of the body. And then sitting very tall, your hands come to rest on the front of your shins, just underneath your knees here. On your inhale, very gently, you're going to tilt so that your belly button feels like it's coming forward and your heart is coming up. And on your exhale, you're going to push the belly button towards the back of your mat and gently round that spine, almost as if we're trying to scoop some space in here like a bowl. Inhale, tilt the bowl forward, belly button comes up, the heart rises. Exhale, tilt the bowl back, create some space. I want you to explore this seated cat and cow 3 more times at your own pace. Moving with your breath. Making the movements as exaggerated or as small as you'd like. And coming back to center in stillness whenever you're ready. Gently moving so that the soles of our feet come together in front of us on our mat in our Baddha Konasana or our bound angle pose. The closer your feet are to the body, the harsher the stretch is going to feel on your hip flexors. So it's whatever your body needs today. But I want you to inhale to find that length in the spine first, crown of the head reaches toward the ceiling, shoulders are down and out from the ears. On your next exhale, the heart is going to be what guides the movement forward. We're trying to bring the heart forward as much as possible, and we're going to honor that space between the chin and the chest. And so we keep the gaze lifted as we fold and try to melt the heart down towards the toes. And whenever you come to a pause, maybe you inhale halfway up and exhale. See if you can sink the heart a little bit closer. Doing this however many times feels good to you until you come to a stopping place that feels like where it should be in your body. And then very gently tucking the chin towards the chest, rounding that spine, noticing if that changes how you feel the stretch. Maybe it doesn't, and maybe it does. Both are okay. Inhaling the gaze back up towards the top of the mat. On your exhale, just as slowly as we fold it, we're going to come back to seated. Let's slide our hands underneath our knees, guide them close together. Maybe gently windshield wiper them out from side to side. And then however is most comfortable for you to come to your hands and your knees in your tabletop position, that's where we're headed next. You will know that you're in your very best tabletop position when your wrists are stacked right underneath your shoulders, your knees are stacked right underneath your hips. If you take a peek through your legs, you shouldn't be able to see your feet. All the joints are in line. And if this is really uncomfortable for the wrists this early in the morning, let's come down to the forearms and just replace the wrist with the elbows. It's the exact same thing. We have a nice flat back here, and we're going to explore some traditional cat and cow. So when you're inhale, let the belly button come down towards the mat. The gaze lifts at first, maybe just to the top of the mat. Exhale, I want you to push the ground away. It's like a string is pulling the belly button up towards the ceiling, and the gaze goes under. Inhale, that belly button comes back, down, gaze lifts. Exhale, I want you to push the ground away and round that spine. Find this 3 more times at your own pace, exaggerating movements as you'd like. Maybe rolling out the shoulders or rolling out the hips. Remembering that we can do this on our forearms. Coming back to center, back to stillness when you're ready. And we're coming to a flat back here. So we're very intentionally making our backs as flat as we can. And we're going to try to engage our core a little bit. So I want you to imagine that you're trying to bring your wrists and your knees together on your mat, like you're trying to create a wrinkle in the middle of it. That should engage your core. Feel the belly button tuck up and slightly back. And from here, let's inhale, float that right foot up, toes point down towards the ground. If you're here today, that's incredible. Maybe you also want to float that left arm out in front. And maybe on an exhale, you want to curl that elbow to meet the knee and inhale, extend back out. Exhale to curl. Inhale back out. Exhale to curl. And we're going to hold for 3, 2, 1. Extend that hand, that leg back out, and then float them back down to the mat. I want you to flip your right wrist so your fingertips face toward your knees along the mat, and just bring each fingertip to the thumb and back again. And shake that wrist out. Replace it on the mat. We're going to do the same thing. So engage your core. Inhale, float that left foot up, toes point down towards the ground. If you're here today, that's incredible. Maybe you also want to inhale, float that right arm out in front. Maybe you want to exhale and curl. Inhale back out. Exhale to curl. Inhale back out. And last time, exhale to curl and hold for 3, 2, 1. Extend back out, float that hand, that knee back down towards the mat. Let's flip the left palm, do the same thing on the side, each fingertip to the thumb. Shake it out. and then replace it on the mat. I want you to spread your fingertips wide and really press into each fingertip and the L in between the index finger and the thumb so you can protect those wrists. As we prepare to inhale, tuck the toes, exhale, lift the body up and back for our first downward dog of class. Ooh, take your dog for a nice long walk here. Pedal the feet out. It's okay if this doesn't feel particularly comfortable yet, or it doesn't feel like your traditional downward dog. It's our first one of the morning, probably. So it's gonna take some time to get there, and that's okay. Coming back to stillness, I want you to inhale to gaze in between the hands. Exhale, take the slowest walk with as many steps possible to meet your feet with your hands at the top of your mat in this forward fold. Here's the thing about your forward fold. I want a generous bend in those knees so your heart can be as close to your thighs as you can get it. That is not going to change throughout class. We're never going to have locked knees in our forward fold. Maybe you take the time to tiptoe your fingertips to the left and to the right along the mat, or you grasp opposite elbows and you let the head dangle and you sway side to side. You can gently shake the head no and nod it yes, and come back to stillness in the center when you're ready. And we're gonna inhale first for a halfway lift. So as you inhale, your fingertips trace up your shins, pause around your knees. We have a nice flat tabletop back. Ujjayi, exhale all the way down. Generous bend in the knees. Inhale, those arms come wide. You're gonna scoop the air all the way up into our upward salute. Exhale, pull those hands down the midline. Open them up to your Tadasana. I'm gonna move the camera just a little bit so that maybe you can see. Beautiful. In this Tadasana, I want you to really feel rooted into the ground through your feet. We're gonna test our balance a little bit today. So we really need to find that foundation that makes us feel great. So take a look down at your feet, rock onto the toes, the heels, the sides of the feet. Make little circles with them. And really feel like you're pressing into the three predominant corners of the foot, behind the pinky toe, behind the big toe, and in the heel. We should have a micro bend in the knees because we can't press equally into the foot with locked knees. And when you're ready, I want you to inhale, those arms come up. Exhale with a nice flat back and bent knees to that forward fold. Inhale for that halfway lift that makes you happy. Ujjayi, exhale back down. Fingertips content on the mat. I want you to step back with that left foot and that right foot, and we're in our plank position. Option for our first Vinyasa flow of class. If you'd like to flow on your own, feel free. If you want to flow with me, let's go. Let's bring the knees to the ground, untuck the toes, keeping the elbows as close to the body as we can, lower all the way down so we can rest in our cheek or our chin. I want you to press the tops of your feet into the mat and feel the kneecaps lift off the mat. No weight in the fingertips. Inhale, just the shoulders and the head are gonna float off the mat. You give me a little wave. Exhale, back down. Inhale, I want you to tuck the toes. Exhale, press the body back up and back to your downward dog. Inhale, the gaze between the hands. Exhale, take that slow walk to meet them in the forward fold. Inhale for that halfway lift, offer that heart up. Ujjayi, exhale back down. We're gonna do one more Vinyasa flow from here. This time I want you to peel that right foot first, step it back, then the left foot. You're in your plank position. Option for that Vinyasa flow if you'd love to take one. If we'd like to bring our knees to the ground, we can, or we can keep them off and we can lower all the way down to the mat still. Untuck the feet. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. Feel the kneecaps lift. Gentle weight in the fingertips this time as you inhale up a little bit higher. Exhale, back down. Inhale, tuck the toes. Exhale, press the body back up and back to your downward dog. Inhale, the gaze between the hands. Exhale, walk to meet them at the top of your mat. Inhale for that halfway lift, only if you like it. Exhale, back down. Generous bend the knees. Inhale, those arms come wide. Scoop the air all the way up to that upward salute. Exhale, pull those hands down. Open up to your Tadasana. Beautiful. We're going to begin to build our flow. So bring it back down to the feet. Rock onto the toes, the heels. Maybe take a little hop even. You like to see where your feet land. And when you're ready, inhale, those arms come up. Exhale, sink the tailbone down and back into your Utkatasana, your chair pose. So the thing about this is we've exhaled down as if we're sitting in a chair. Our weight has shifted back into our heels, so our toes could be waving on the mat. Arms can float overhead or right here at heart center. We have a nice flat back, that tailbone tucks slightly under. And I just want you to breathe. Three breaths here. And then I want you to reach your arms out in front of you like you're reaching to receive a present. On your next exhale, you're gonna rock forward onto the toes and the elbows are gonna come back. We call this skier. Inhale back to your chair. Exhale forward to skier. Inhale back to chair. Exhale forward. Inhale back, last time. Exhale forward. Inhale back. Pull those arms in. Exhale right into that forward fold. Inhale for that halfway lift, off of the heart up. Exhale back down. Fingertips come to tent on the mat. You're gonna peel that left foot off and gently float it back to our lunge. Let's bring our knee to the ground. Option for you to untuck that back toe and flatten it out, or to keep that back toe tucked. And we have an option to keep our arms here on the ground, framing that front foot if that feels good to us. Or we can inhale the arms right here onto that quad, or even all the way overhead, as if we're holding a beach ball overhead, trying to keep those shoulders down and out from the ears. But take a peek. Your front right knee is right over top of that right ankle or slightly behind it. We're not going over towards the toes. If we are, move that front foot out towards the front for me. Bring some awareness to your hips here. They're both still squared towards the front of your mat. We haven't opened them up yet. If that toe is tucked, you're going to notice that you feel the stretch a little bit more in this quad. Notice what that feels like. 2 more breaths here. On your third Ujjayi exhale, I want you to pour those hands back down to frame that front foot. If that back foot is flat, let's tuck the toes, inhale, and float that back knee off the mat. We're gonna pause here for a moment. Maybe you take half a step in with that back foot if it makes it more comfortable. Arms can come to fists on the ground with our thumbs instead of the palms if the wrists are uncomfortable. 2 breaths here. Try to keep those shoulders down and out from the ears. The heart still shines forward. And then if you'd like, on your next exhale, we're gonna exhale the body all the way up. Beautiful. Inhale to lengthen that front leg. Exhale it back down. Come back to that lunge. That right knee is still over top or slightly behind that front ankle. Arms can be here overhead, right here at heart center, or if you didn't want to come up, they can come back down here and stay in our floating lunge there. One more time. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale back down. On your next inhale, I want you to pivot that back foot so it's about parallel with the back of your mat. And then I also want you to pivot that front foot so it's parallel to the front of your mat as well. We're turning to the left side. Both toes face towards the left in our wide-legged stance. Beautiful. Inhale, arms up. Exhale with a flat back and micro bent knees to our wide-legged forward fold. So here's the thing about this. I want you to move so that your toes are slightly more in than your heels. And gently just try to guide your heart down towards the center of your mat. So you're gonna bring your knees to a little bit more of a generous bend. And you can use your breath. You can inhale halfway up. Exhale, lower that heart down. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, lower back down. Last time, inhale halfway up. Exhale, lower that heart down. Maybe the hands walk between the legs towards the other side of the mat. Pause here. And when you're ready, inhale halfway up. I want you to bring your hands to your hips. Exhale the rest of the way up to our standing posture. Pivot that front foot back towards the front of your mat. Bend that right knee and then pivot onto those back toes as well. We're back in that lunge. Beautiful. Exhale, pour those hands back down to frame that front foot. And I want you to fly that right leg high to the sky, down to meet the left. Option for Vinyasa flow if you'd love to take one. Move with your breath. And cat and cow, beautiful option. Inhale forward. Exhale all the way down or halfway. Inhale up to your upward facing dog or cobra of your choice. Exhale back when you're done. And then let's bring both knees to the ground. Untuck the toes and the hips over the heels for a child's pose. Our first time in child's pose today. So I really want you to drink it all in. Child's pose should be a place of restoration, of coming back to your breath and your intention. A place to get water if you'd like some. I don't tend to cue water breaks, so whenever you feel a need, go for it. But I want you to come back to your breath. Find that Ujjayi breath again. Slow that heart rate back down. Come back to that intention if you set one. And when you're ready for the other side of that exact same flow, no surprises, you know where we're headed. You're just going to inhale up to that tabletop position. Let's take 3 rounds of cat and cow here, if you'd like. Once you've come back to center, I want you to press into those fingertips where they're out on the mat. Inhale, tuck those toes. Exhale, let's lift the hips up and back for our downward dog. Inhale the gaze between the hands. Exhale, walk or float to meet them at the top of your mat in that forward fold. Still have that generous bend in the knees. Inhale for that halfway lift if it makes you feel good. Our backs are so flat we can eat breakfast off of them. Exhale back down. Generous bend in the knees. Inhale, those arms come wide. Scoop the air all the way up for me. Exhale, pull it down the midline. Open up to your Tadasana here. Bring the gaze down towards the feet. You know how to build your foundation and you know what's going to be required of your feet. So take the time to rock onto the toes, the heels, the sides of the feet. Maybe you take that little hop. You see where the feet like to land. Whatever works well for you. And since we've built our foundation, when your body's ready, let's inhale those arms overhead. Exhale, sink down and back into that Utkatasana, your chair pose. Arms can float overhead. Right here, the weight in your feet has shifted back into the heels. And we're going to pause here for 3 breaths. Come back to that Ujjayi breath. Tight core is here. They're protecting the lower back. The lower back is protecting the core. And when you're ready, I want you to reach those arms out in front. You know exactly where we're headed. Let's inhale forward to skier. Exhale back. Inhale forward, lift the heels. Exhale back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Last time, inhale forward, hold. Exhale back. Inhale, just pull the arms in. Exhale, pour into that forward fold. Keep the generous bend in the knees. Inhale for that halfway lift, only if it makes you happy. Exhale, back down. I want you to peel that right foot off the mat this time and float it back to our lunge. And then maybe you bring the knees to the ground. Maybe we keep that toe tucked or flatten that foot out. We can keep our hands where they're at here, framing that front foot, or we can inhale up. So our hands are right here on the quad, or even overhead, like we're holding a beach ball. Wherever you're at, your joints are still in line. So this left knee is over top of that left ankle. Hips are still facing towards the front of the mat. We're not rolling too much into one hip. They feel pretty balanced. And I want you to focus on your breath. Surprise, surprise. If that right foot is tucked, notice what it feels like in this right quad. And we're going to be here for 3 more breaths. On your next exhale, pour those hands back down to frame that front foot. If that back foot is flattened, let's tuck it. And inhale, we're going to float that back knee off the ground. Maybe take half a step in. We have the option to stay here, although truthfully it's usually harder. Or on your next exhale, we're going to exhale the body up into our floating lunge. Inhale, lengthen that front leg. Exhale, back down. Notice that left knee is still over top of that ankle or behind it. We're not going over towards the toes. That's not going to change. Arms can be right here at heart center or overhead. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, back down. We're going to be here for 2 more breaths. I know you can do it. One more time. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, back down. And then you're going to pivot that back foot towards the right. Pivot those front toes towards the right. And we're going to turn and look towards the right of our mat. In this wide-legged stance, inhale those arms up. Exhale, flat back, bend in the knees to your wide-legged forward fold. Same thing, your toes are going to be a little bit closer to center than your heels here. And we have a generous micro bend in those knees. We're not trying to lock them out. Inhale for that halfway lift. Exhale, lower the heart down. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, lower. Last time. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, lower, and pause here. When you're ready, inhale halfway up. Bring your hands to your hips. Exhale the rest of the way up. Beautiful. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, pivot that front foot back towards the top of the mat. Pivot that back foot. We're back in our lunge on this side. When you're ready, exhale those hands down to frame that front foot. You're going to float the left leg high to the sky, down to meet the right in your downward dog. Option for a vinyasa flow if you'd love to take one. Move with your breath. Inhale forward to plank. Exhale all the way down or halfway. Inhale up to upward facing dog or cobra. And exhale back to downward dog. And then I want you to bring your knees to the ground, untuck the toes and the hips over the heels for a child's pose. Let's bring the hands behind the body, round the spine like a little river pebble, and relax. Come back to your breath. Come back to that intention. Notice what you're feeling in the body and where you're feeling it. Take the time to lower the heart rate back down. Focus on that Ujjayi exhale. Take the time to thank your body for the work it's done for you already. Notice how your body thanks you for taking the time to put it first. And only when you're ready, like truly ready, are you going to inhale back up towards that tabletop position where we're all going to meet and begin the next part of our flow. But only when you're ready. Once you're here, let's take 3 rounds of cat and cow. Moving slowly with intention and moving with the full length of our breath. So our movement stops when our breath stops. Coming back to that neutral spine wherever you're at. If your wrists are uncomfortable, you want to give them a little break, let's come down to the forearms. And we're going to make some circles with the hips just to prepare them for what we're asking for them today. So we're going to inhale. That right foot's just going to come up towards the ceiling and the knee goes back. And then you're just going to open up to the side and circle down. Inhale, left foot comes up, opens up, and circles back down. 2 more times. The foot goes up, the leg is still bent. Open up to the side and circle back down. Last time, foot goes straight up, knee opens, circle back down. Replace that foot on the mat. Same thing on the other side. Flex that foot, foot comes straight up, the knee is still bent. Open up to the side, circle back down. Foot comes up on an inhale, open up to the side, exhale, circle it back down. Inhale up and out. Exhale, circle back down. Last time, inhale up, open out. Exhale, circle back down. Let's bring the knee to the ground and that foot comes down as well. If we're on our forearms, let's come back to the wrists. When you're ready, inhale, tuck the toes. Exhale, lift the hips up and back for your downward dog. Option for a vinyasa flow if you'd love to take one. Inhaling forward, exhaling all the way down or halfway. Inhaling up, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale back. From this downward dog, inhale to gaze between the hands. Exhale, walk or float to meet them at the top of your mat in that forward fold. We still have that bend in our knees. Inhale halfway. Exhale back down. Generous bend in the knees. Inhale, arms wide. Scoop the air all the way up. Pull that energy down. And let it go. Out to the side. Shake it out a little bit. Fabulous. So we're going to begin to test our balance even more on this side. So when you're ready, bring the gaze down to the feet. You know what I'm going to say, right? Rock onto the toes, rock onto the heels, sides of the feet. Make some circles. Really press into them. And once you feel like you have that foundation, on an inhale, the arms are going to come up. On an exhale, you're going to sink the hips down and back for that chair position. Bring those arms into the side right here at heart center. And then if you'd like, you're going to twist. So that right elbow comes to the outside of that left quad, and we've opened up to the side here. Palms still pressing towards each other. We're not pressing on that knee joint. We're higher up on the leg than that. And we're trying to get the shoulders as stacked as we can to open the heart up. Maybe once you're here, you fly those arms open to the side. Weight is still in the heels. Your toes could wave at me. Beautiful. Let's bring our hands back to center. Inhale back up. 2 breaths here. Find a focal point, a non-moving focal point in front of you. And when you're ready, peel that left heel off, and with grace and ease, step it back to that lunge. We've been here already today. Inhale, lengthen that front leg. Exhale to bend it. That right knee still over top of that ankle or slightly behind it. Inhale to lengthen it. Exhale to sink back down. And we're going to be here for 3 breaths. I know you can do it. Fourth, inhale to lengthen. Fourth, exhale back down. Inhale those arms overhead. Exhale, I want you to pivot out to the side. We're coming back to that wide-legged stance, facing towards the left side of our mat. So our toes face out. And then I want you to take half a step in with that left foot. And I want the toes facing out further than the heels this time. So our legs are still wider than hip distance apart, toes facing out. Beautiful. And when you're ready, inhale those arms up. I want you to exhale down into what we call our goddess pose. So our knees are still not going over our toes or our heels. So we've inhaled the arms up, exhale, sunk down as we're trying to drag our back along a wall. Knees still tracking over top of those ankles. Beautiful. Arms can be right here at goalpost, or if you want to pull them into the midline, you can do that too. 3 breath cycles. You got it. See if you can sink a little bit lower. On your fourth, inhale, lengthen those legs, arms come up. Exhale those hands down to the hips. Beautiful. Take a moment here, wide-legged stance. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, I want you to bring that front knee back to bent. Come back to your lunge, facing towards the top of your mat. Right foot is in front. Beautiful. And here's where the option to balance really comes in. So we can stay here. A couple of options to get where we're going next. First option is going to be the harder of the balance. You're going to bring your heart forward until your heart is right over top of this right knee. Float that back foot off the mat and open up to your warrior 3 here. If that's a lot for balance on this side of the body and you're just not feeling it today, I want you to step forward. Inhale, left knee up. Exhale, kick it back into your warrior 3. No matter how you get there, we're all going to our warrior 3. Beautiful. Use your core. Feel how it tightens to protect you. Arms can float at heart center, in front of the body, to the side, to the back. Beautiful. 2 breaths here. I know you can do it. If you're wobbling, you're working. On your third inhale, I want you to come back towards standing. Bring that left knee up to parallel with that left hip. Exhale, float it down. Enjoy the heat for a minute. Oh boy, shake it out. Great job, everybody. Inhale, arms up. Exhale with a nice flat back to the earth. Generous bend in those knees. Inhale for that halfway lift off of the heart up. Exhale back down. We have the option to pause here in our forward fold and catch our breath, bring the heart rate back down. We have the option to do a vinyasa flow if you'd love to do one. Whatever speaks best to you. If you're going to do a vinyasa flow, let's step back with the left foot, the right foot into your plank position. Take the vinyasa flow of your choice. Remembering that cat and cow is a beautiful option. Move with your breath. And we'll all meet back in that forward fold when we're ready. Inhale the gaze between the hands first. Exhale, walk or float to meet them at the top of your mat. Inhale for that halfway lift off of the heart up. Exhale back down. Take another beat to pause here in this forward fold. Notice what feels great in the body. Notice what feels tight or feels like we built some heat up. Notice where the heart rate is. When you're ready, Inhale, knees wide, arms wider, bring the arms all the way up with you. Pull that arms down the midline. Open up to your Tadasana, your mountain pose. Take a moment to enjoy it before we go where you know we're already headed. So I want you to bring your gaze down to your feet. Last time, I promise. Rock onto the toes or the heels, the sides of the feet. Maybe take a little hop, see where the feet like to land. You know where we're headed. So when your body's ready, inhale those arms up. Exhale, sink the hips down and back. For your chair pose, your Utkatasana. Weight is in the heels here. Bring the palms in towards center. 2 breaths first. And then when you're ready, that left elbow is gonna cross the body and plant on that right quad. Opening up to the side here. Maybe we fly the arms open once we get here. Weight is still in the heels, your toes could wave at me. Pull the hands back together. Inhale back, 2 breaths. Find your drishti, your non-moving focal point. On that third inhale, I want you to peel the right heel off with grace and ease. Float it back to that lunge. Inhale to lengthen that left leg. Exhale back down. One more time. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale back down. And we're gonna pause here for 3 breaths. On your 4th inhale, find length. 4th exhale, come back down. Arms come overhead, and then you're gonna pivot. And we're coming to that wide-legged stance on the right this time. And I want you to take half a step in with that right foot. Heels are closer into the center than your toes. Feet are still a little bit wider than hip distance. Beautiful. When you're ready, inhale, arms up. Exhale, sink down into your goddess pose. Knees over top of the ankles, not going over towards the toes. Arms can be right here or in at heart center. And we're gonna be here for 3 breaths. I know you can do this. See if you can sink a little bit lower on your exhale. We have a nice flat back. When you're ready, inhale, lengthen the arms and the legs. Exhale, bring the hands back down to the midline, back down to the hips. Beautiful. Pivot that front foot back towards the front of your mat. That left foot comes forward. And then pivot onto the back heel as well. The back toes, excuse me. Same options to get to your warrior 3. So you can bring that heart right over top in line with that right knee joint or that left knee joint and float forward. Or if that's too much for your body today and you're just not feeling it, I want you to step forward and then float back to your warrior 3. No matter how you get there, this is where we're all ending up. 2 breaths here. I know you can do it. If you're wobbling, you're working. Come back to that Ujjayi breath if you can. On your 3rd inhale, I want you to bring that right knee up, parallel with that right hip, and then float it down. Shake it out. Beautiful job, everybody. I promise we're done now. No more chairs, no more anything. Inhale those arms up. Exhale with a nice flat back, generous bend in the knees to the earth. Inhale for that halfway lift off of the heart up. Exhale back down. Bring the hands down to the mat. I want you to peel that right foot off and set it back. And then the left. Option for your final vinyasa flow if you'd love to take one. We're all gonna meet in a child's pose whenever you're ready. Come back to your breath. Come back to your intention if you set one. Maybe your big toes come together and your knees come wide and you sink back into a wide-legged child's pose. And notice what that does for the hips. I want you to just focus on your breath. That's all I want you to think about. It's just, I am inhaling and I am exhaling. Maybe you come back to that Ujjayi breath, but all you're focusing on right now is your breath. Four more breath cycles here at least. I want you to bring the heart rate back down. I want you to find that Ujjayi breath. We're beginning to cool the body down, which is just as important as all of the work that we've put in for it so far. And here's where you're really going to begin to hear your body thank you for the work you've done for it today. So take the time to come back to your breath, to bring your mind back to just what is happening on your own mat right now. Refocus onto that intention and onto where you're at just right now. From this child's pose, either wide-legged or regular, I'm going to have you extend the arms out overhead and just walk both palms towards the left of your mat. Maybe they even come off your mat, and we're just going to stretch the side of the body. Maybe that right palm stacks on top of the left. It's okay if the forehead and the chin are off the mat here as we stretch. Let's walk the hands back towards center. Pause for a moment. And then I want you to walk the palms towards the right. Maybe the left palm stacks on top of the right. Stretch this side of the body. Walk those palms back towards center. Relax in the middle. And when your body is ready, not a second before, we're going to inhale up to that tabletop position. And then however is most comfortable for you to come to a seated position on your mat, that's where we're headed next. With our legs extended out in front of us, toes pointing up towards the ceiling. Little bit of space underneath the back of the knees and the mat, that's totally okay. I want you to inhale to find that length in the spine, crown of the head reaches toward the ceiling. On your exhale, again, like we did earlier in our Baddha Konasana, your heart is going to guide the movement forward. So you're trying to shine your heart forward towards the toes, the gaze is lifted, and you're just going to fold over the legs. Same thing as earlier as well. We can inhale halfway up. Exhale, see if we can sink the heart closer to those toes, reaching out, not down. It's okay if that means there's more of a bend between our legs. That's okay. Hands are just going to fold alongside the body. They're not going to be gripping or grabbing. They're just here, palms up or down. Maybe those legs begin to relax towards the mat. Gaze is still lifted. And then very gently you begin to tuck the chin towards the chest and round that spine. And notice how that changes the way you feel the stretch. Maybe it doesn't, and that's okay. Maybe it does, and that's okay too. Inhale, the gaze comes up towards the toes. Exhale, press into those palms and walk the body back up to seated. Bring the hands behind the chest. Open that heart out for me. Come back to seated. Let's scoot forward a little bit so we have enough room to lay back down behind us. And then I want you to plant your feet on your mat. Inhale to find that length in the spine. Left arm comes off, right arm comes off, kind of like a mummy getting back into bed. We're gonna lay back down all together for a count of 7. So for 7, 6, 5, 4, pause. Smile, breathe, feel so grateful, and continue. 3, 2, 1, all the way down to the mat. Hug those knees in towards the chest for me. Maybe rock side to side, or if you have no spine concerns, you can rock along the length of the spine. You can draw some big circles on the ceiling with your knees. Just give that back a little bit of a massage, however that feels best to you. Making sure that if we circle one way, we also circle the other way. Reaching on the inside of your knees for the outside of the feet. We can open up to our happy baby here. So it looks like we're stamping our feet on the ceiling. We can rock side to side. Maybe you guide the soles of your feet together in a kind of a Supta Baddha Konasana along your mat. Whenever you'd like. And then when you're ready, you're gonna let your left leg extend long on your mat. You're gonna let your right leg do the same. The toes come away from each other. The hands can be placed right here on the hip bones, or can be out to the side of the body. Palms can face up to collect more energy, or can face down to find grounding. I want you to relax those shoulders. Relax the rib cage. Relax the jaw. And just let yourself trust your mat to hold all that you have to offer. And just sink into it. Very gently beginning to bring some awareness back to the body. Wiggling the fingers and the toes. Making small circles with the wrists and the ankles. When you're ready, inhale those arms overhead and pointing the toes, taking a full body stretch like you're just getting out of bed for the first time today. I want you to very gently roll to your left side, using your bicep as a cushion for your head. Maybe you hug the knees closer to the chest. For the last time all together, let's reflect on those intentions we set. Let them go if they no longer serve us, holding them in if they have more to teach us. And spreading the fingertips on that right hand wide. When you're ready, I want you to Ujjayi exhale and press into that palm to come back to seated at the top of your mat where we're all going to end class together. Once we're here, we're going to inhale those arms overhead, palms to touch. As we exhale them down the midline, we're going to pause at the forehead, maybe think kind thoughts. We're going to pause at the lips, maybe speak kind words. And we're going to pause finally at the heart, maybe have kind intentions to ourselves and to those around us. Thank you all so much for sharing your practice with me this morning. May you all be happy, may you be safe. May you walk this earth with peace and at ease, and may you find the space to help others along the way. Namaste, yogis. Thank you all very, very much. I'm going to stop the recording now.